Thank you. I believe also that we need comprehensive immigration reform. I agree also that we have 12 million undocumented persons in this country. We're not just going to deport them all. The people are paying taxes and going to school, working, being responsible people in their community. We should provide them a path to being able to stay in this country, a step-by-step path. If they're not being responsible citizens, then they should not be allowed to stay in the country. That is really what, at the level of how we should deal with specifically the large immigrant population that's here. Second part, I think I agree with Gary, we need to secure our borders and to ensure that, that we do not have porous borders in the future, and that we work on working with our neighbors to work in a cooperative way. That does not mean building fences or walls, but really securing our borders. As far as the DREAM Act, I have supported the DREAM Act in California every single time it's come up. I have supported when students who meet our academic requirements, who graduate from high school, who have met all the requirements, that they be allowed to go on to college. I also believe now that the president is dealing with a similar thing, so I support that also. So I support the DREAM Act, and I support a comprehensive immigration reform.
Thank you. International trade, Mr. Lowenthal, is very important in our district. Are there reforms to current trade agreements that you support to reduce the federal trade deficit?
What's the question? Do I support?
Are there reforms to current trade agreements you support to reduce the federal trade deficit?
Well, I support many of the trade agreements as long as there's a level playing field, as long as other countries treat their workers in the same way that we do, and also that they do not undersell or undercut American workers. So I'm really concerned about that. But I think that the free trade agreements are, in the long run, very, very positive. But they have to be reassessed to make sure that each one, that we're not providing unfair advantage to and lead to the exportation of American jobs. I think one of the unfortunate circumstances is that in living in a world that we do today is that it's very, very easy to export jobs out of the United States. I think we have to be very concerned about that. But the ability to have free trade, I think, is very positive. I think it will help the nation, and it will help the world, and it will help our own economy. But it has to be done in a way that ensures that we're not providing unfair advantages.
Mr. DeLong.
Americans love to compete. We'll compete with anybody. We don't need special privileges. You don't need to cut us a deal. We don't need a favor. Just give us a fair, competitive, level playing field, and we'll compete every time. That's what we need in international trade. And we don't always get it. We'll give favors to other countries, we'll cut them deals, and we don't get any reciprocity. It's more difficult for our businesses to sell in their country than it is to sell in our country. So I absolutely do believe there are reforms that are necessary. I want equality. If you want something, some benefit in our country, I want the same thing in your country. I just want to be even. Again, I don't think we need anything special. We don't need favors. You just give us a competitive environment, and Americans will compete every time. And I think we should look at those agreements, and we should make sure that they are competitive and in the best interest of our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DeLong, how would you engage young people in the political process, and what do you expect from them during your term?
Well, you can always walk a precinct. But no, I think it's imperative that youth is engaged in the political process for a number of reasons. First of all, I think that it gives them the ability to influence change and see that it makes a difference. So they need to become engaged to see that. I think from the elected officials' perspective, a younger generation looks at things differently than you do, and you need to have an open mind, and rather than look to the past, you need to be looking to the future. I think they bring a lot of value, but I think the important thing is engagement. Engage them in all levels of the organization, not just at the bottom because they're an intern, but let them be productive members of the team. I've always enjoyed doing that in my private business, as well as in the city council office, and I would absolutely take that same environment to Washington.
I too really enjoy having young people involved in the campaign. I think it's vitally important. I hope that when people came in, they saw all those students for Lowenthal that were out there. One of the nice things about campaigns is the ability to bring younger people into the campaign. And I think that it's occurring now. I certainly would continue to support. I've always had large numbers of interns in my office. I've worked with interns. You know, when I was here at Cal State Long Beach, I was the big advocate and ran the mentoring programs here at the school, where I had my students at Cal State Long Beach working with high school students who then would work with middle school students. I think that each student should give something and get something back. I think that's really the model that we should be doing. We should be bringing people along. We should be always thinking about the next generation. Who's going to replace us, who's going to move forward. And that's why I have such a high commitment to education, and why I love being a faculty member here, and think that the involvement of young people is really just so core to my very being.
Thank you. Mr. DeLong,
Louder.
repeat, please.
Fine, we're going to, if you didn't hear that little tone, we're just kind of arranging it. So who goes first and who doesn't go first? And so I'm going to go first in the closing. There's a lot of you. And I'm running, you know, I always thought I wanted to be, you know, when my kids asked me, I said I wanted to be a comedian. That was my major goal in life. I think some people look at me and say, it really is a joke. But, you know, what you see is what you're going to get with me. I have been doing this for a long time, fighting for my community. I have been listening to people. My skills are somebody who listens to people, who brings people together, who fights for the community, fights for air quality, fights for sustainable jobs. You know, it's real interesting. If you look at some of my supporters, even in the port, I fought with the business community for years, and now many of the port business community are my strongest supporters because I listen to them. I always go into every single interaction with people, understanding that that other person is just as bright as I am, has just as much to say as I do. That's what you're going to get. I'm going to fight for education. I'm going to fight for environmental protection. I'm going to fight for jobs. I'm going to fight for open and transparent government. That's who I am. That's what I've been doing my whole life. And if I am fortunate enough to be elected, I will continue. It is too late now for me to change. I'm not going to change. This is what you're going to get if you elect me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the applause. I appreciate it. You know, I think what Alan was saying is, you know, kind of what you see is what you get. And one of the things about working with an existing elected officials is we both have track records, and we should be measured on those. So what do we have in the state of California to show for his tenure? Highest sales tax in the nation, second highest gas tax, third highest income tax, third worst unemployment rate in the country, third worst tax climate, third highest foreclosure rate, 10th highest property tax. California is ranked by CEO magazine as the worst state in America in which to do business in for the 8th year in a row. State debt has tripled in the past 10 years. The state of California's credit rating is the worst in the country. California's investment in higher education as a percent of the economy is now at its lowest point since 1965. There's numerous other measurements. But if you're going to measure success, that's the measurement of his success. What will I do for you? I will continue to do what I've done for you in the city of Long Beach. I will balance the budget every year. I will protect the communities first. I will make sure that your priorities are my priorities. I will fight for local small business owners. I will make sure we have a competitive economy. I will work very hard for those businesses to grow and prosper and create jobs for us, for our kids, for our grandkids. Those are the things that I have a 6-year track record of doing, and I will continue to do those every day that I work for you in Washington. And I want to thank you all once again for having the opportunity to be here with you this evening. Have a great evening.